and welcome. Today, one day before the final vote on the European Commission, we will focus on how a centre-right and left coalition of the two biggest parties in the European Parliament managed to succeed and fix an agreement on the new executive team. To focus on this, my guests are two members of the European Parliament, Mrs. Kathleen Van Brempt, you are a Belgian member, and a Socialists and Democrats member.
Absolutely.
Hello and welcome.
Thank you.
And Mr. Claude Turmes, you're from Luxembourg and you're a member of the Greens.
Yes, you got it right.
Hello and welcome, both of you. So, the hearings of the commissioners designate are finally done. This was presented as a really new democratic system, but at the end it seems that it was more the result of the big coalition between the Socialists and the centre-right. So, Mrs. Van Brempt, do you think that these hearings didn't only kill Mrs. Bratusek, but also the hearing in general?
Oh, I absolutely do not agree. I attended a lot of these hearings, especially the one focused on sustainability. They were all tough hearings. I think every single member of the European Parliament in this hearing took up their responsibility. And I think the best proof of that is that Mrs. Bratusek, who wasn't in the fire line at the beginning, she was supposed to be a good candidate for that post. She did a really very bad hearing, and she got voted away. What did happen, of course, is that after the hearings there were a few commissioners like Cañete, but also Mr. Moscovici, Mr. Navracic, Mr. Hill, who were in sort of waiting room because there were questions about not their capacity to be a commissioner in a technical sense, but their capacity to do that job in a good way. And then we had to discuss the whole commission as a whole, and that's what we did, and we found a compromise, and with every compromise you can have a lot of criticism on it, but I think it's very important that we can start off now with a new commission.
So how can you explain to our public how can Mr. Cañete and Mr. Moscovici, the French socialist Moscovici, passed finally, because before they were both criticized, Mr. Cañete from the Socialist group and Mr. Moscovici from the centre-right group. And at the end, they both were approved by all the members of the parliament. So there was no deal behind it.
Not beforehand. Of course, afterwards, of course, yes. And not only with these two commissioners, but also with the others I mentioned. And especially, not just on the individual commissioners, because what people need to know is, at the end of the line, it's the whole of the commission that counts. Not a single commissioner can make a difference, not at all. It's the commission as a whole that makes a difference. And in this commission, there's something new. It's new for the whole of the parliament. We will experience whether it's a good or a bad way to deal with the commission, but it's new. We have these vice presidents who have the responsibility to coordinate very important parts of the portfolios, such as the digital agenda, jobs and growth, climate energy union, that sort of issues. They're supposed to be and to coordinate the rest of the commission. Let's see whether it functions, but what is important is that the commission as a whole takes up responsibility, and in that sense there were two major issues for us. The first one was the complete change of the way the Commission looked at the economy. We had discussions about flexibility, investments and so on. Juncker promised to put 300 billion euros in our economy. And secondly, and then I'll stop there. Secondly, there was no vice president who had the portfolio of sustainability and of climate and energy. And in the deal we made, that was for us crucial. Now we have Mr. Timmermans, who's responsible for sustainability, and the new commissioner, also a socialist, Šefčovič, who will be responsible for energy union in climate and energy.
Thank you. Yeah, we will come back on this. But I want to focus on the only one candidate who was rejected, Mrs. Alenka, the Slovenian Mrs. Alenka Bratusek. So she was from a small country. She was a liberal, and it seemed that she was the perfect. She has the perfect victim profile for the centre-right and the left big groups. How do you feel about this, Mr.
So I think the first thing is that having hearings on individual commissioners is really democratic acquis. I would wish that this would happen in all member states, also in my country, in Luxembourg, when you have a new government. And these hearings then, of course, can be perverted by the larger political groups. On Mrs. Bratusek, I think there was already, it was clear that the socialists would attack her. It was clear that the conservatives would attack her. The socialists hoped to get another socialist commissioner from Slovenia. But when somebody is as weak as she was in the hearing, I think it was not possible for her to really defeat these attacks, which were in a certain sense planned. But
so you mean that these hearings are politic first?
No, I think there is, of course, there is a mix between testing the candidate and then, of course, also some political, what do I want to achieve? And I think at the end of the day, the socialists have a huge responsibility, because what is the result? The result is that the two commissioners where we have a huge conflict of interest, Mr. Cañete, who is linked to the oil industry, Mr. Hill, who is linked to the City of London, one of the most deregulated banking places, the socialists basically accept to keep them. And they accept to keep them because the conservatives took hostage of Mr. Moscovici. And sorry, Mrs. Van Brempt, I don't put the three in the same basket. Mr. Moscovici was just took into hostage by the larger political group. What is the final outcome? And that is what I think we should discuss. I think it's not good for the transparency aspect of the new commission, because you have two commissioners which have, I think, a real conflict of interest. And second, the big loser is environment. We have a weak commissioner on environment. We have a pro-nuclear commissioner from, even if it is a socialist, Šefčovič. He is pro-nuclear, he's pro-coal. That was so clear yesterday in this hearing. So at the end of the day, the socialist group accepts to have an almost anti-environment new commission. And then my question to you is, what have you gained? You have not even gained in number anything. So bad on conflict of interest, bad on the environmental profile of the new commission. So what have you gained as
So you have gained more
group?
socialist commissioner and also more socialist vice president with Mr. Šefčovič yesterday.
Well, for me, it's not about more. I don't care about more. I care about the impact and the actual result. I do not agree with Mr. Turmes. Beforehand, and also the Greens said that there was a problem that at the level of the vice presidents, nobody was responsible for sustainability, for environment, for climate and energy. It was only the issue of energy union, and that was too narrow. That, for me personally, is much more important than any individual commissioner. Do I agree with any individual commissioner? Of course not. For me, there are liberals and Christian Democrats in that commission whom I do not like, not on a personal level, of course.
So, Mr. Claude Turmes, you want to react on what Mrs.
No, so I think there was two possible deals. The one is the one which the socialists at the end agreed to, which is less standing for environment and don't care about conflict of interest. That was the deal which they have now finally accepted. There was another deal which I tried to engineer, which was, I think there's a huge consensus, or at least a large consensus in big parts of the socialists, that there is a conflict of interest with Mr. Cañete. So I think he was definitely a commissioner to be rejected and maybe being replaced. And we know that the number 2 of that list was a Spanish lady. That would have made it possible to bring back one of the best and most pro-environment commissioners ever, which was Potočnik. So the deal which was possible was to get the Slovenian ex-commissioner for environment to be the vice president in charge of energy, climate and horizontally sustainable development. That was our plan as Greens, and I'm a bit sad that at the end of the day, this, and that was made clear, I think the socialists knew that that was another possibility. They didn't choose that possibility, so now they will have to assume the responsibility. I think this commission will be has a big risk of having less priority for environment, so they don't really care for conflict of interest. And the big hope of the socialists, which are the 300 billion reinvestment plan, I think that will be the next test. My information is that Mr. Juncker and Mr. Schulz have promised 300 billion investment into the European economy, but that now nobody knows where this money is. And so maybe that in 2 or 3 weeks or a month, we may also be a bit depressed on that what was the biggest promise to the European electors by this center-right, center-left coalition will not realize.
Yeah, so maybe we'll come back on this these candidates who are, because on Facebook we have some comments from Hervé who is just wondering, why do you think, he's wondering why Mr. Cañete and Mr. Tibor the Hungarian, Mr. Tibor Navracsics stayed and remain in this European Commission's team. And he asked on Facebook, do you think that the left-right coalition has protected Miguel Arias Cañete and Tibor Navracsics from the European People's Party, Juncker's party? And do you think they have their place in the new executive? Mr. Turmes.
No, I think it's clear.
Do they have their place in this new commission?
So we have a clear position of no, but unfortunately the majority which is now doing a deal, so the Social Democrats and the Conservatives, they have protected these two commissioners, and I think those who will vote tomorrow in favor of this will have to assume also the political consequences.
So you will vote against Juncker's new commission tomorrow?
I think as Greens we have at least a good number of arguments to be extremely skeptical on the personal composition of this new commission.
That's a no or a yes?
It's not a yes. We are discussing on if it is a frank no or if we still have some hope in the person of Mr. Juncker. So, and that will be part of our internal discussions this evening.
And you, Mrs. Brempt, you were quite really criticized and opposed to Mr. Cañete at the beginning. So now he will stay in this new European Commission.
I still am. I didn't vote for him with a lot of looking for the word. Enthusiasm. Absolutely not. But in political life, you make agreements. Otherwise, I repeat, but it's quite important. If the socialists didn't take up the responsibility, there wouldn't be a commission, not this week, maybe not the months to come. And at the end, we would go for climate negotiations in Lima and Paris with Mr. Barroso and a very weak commission. No, if you look to the commission as proposed by Juncker, and the commission presented now is a stronger commission who can
it's a green
deliver.
Commission, you mean?
Well,
it will be a green commission?
It's not a green commission. It's a commission that will deliver on clear, ambitious energy, climate goals, on jobs and growth. And that, for the Social Democrats, is crucial.
Your last word, Mr. Turmes, because fortunately I have to wrap up this program.
I think I would be delighted if this new commission would deliver on strong renewables, strong efficiency, on resource efficiency. So in order also to, in a world where prices go up for resources, that really to prepare our economy for that. But the choice of the individual commissioners doesn't reassure me and my group at all, and therefore we are extremely skeptical. On Mr. Timmermans, I think, okay, now he has the responsibility on sustainable development, but we know also that he comes to Brussels with this idea: better regulation, no regulation. So that is clearly he has done some very, I would say, stupid statements against regulation, which we do, for example, on energy efficiency. The litmus test of Mr. Timmermans will be in a world. We have one planet, 10 billion inhabitants. Do you really think that we need less laws on environment to protect citizens and the planet?
Nobody thinks that. Nobody thinks that.
But then we have to see if Mr. Timmermans, who came with another agenda, will be able to adapt and to see the realities.
I need to stop it here, sorry. And thank you for coming to our studio. And thank you for following us. Bye. See you.